It is an important topic, but whatever I'm going to teach you, only 3-4 of those diseases are very important. So you remember them. The rest, you just know the name and the causative agents. That's enough. Okay. So this can come as a long question or a short note also. So we are going to start with occupational lung diseases. So as the name suggests, we all know, we can guess what are occupational lung diseases, isn't it? So these are defined as diseases arising out of or in the course of employment, right? So we all know some of the examples, okay? What happens to coal workers? Have you heard of coal workers' pneumoconiosis? So long term, one of the diseases, for example, long term, the miners who are there in the coal mines, they keep inhaling the coal dust, right? And they develop coal workers' pneumoconiosis, right? Okay, so the overall classification based on what all agents can cause occupational lung diseases, okay? So physical agents, chemical agents, some biological agents, okay? Some can be psychological origin and occupational cancers. Just know the subheadings, not extremely important. Okay, so I think this table is given in Robbins. Okay, so you can just go ahead and have a look what all are causing what all diseases. Okay, like coal dust can cause an array, spectrum of things. It can be asymptomatic anthracosis. Okay, then it can lead to coal workers pneumoconiosis, complicated coal workers pneumoconiosis. It can lead to macules, okay, nodules, okay, and finally it can lead to progressive massive fibrosis, okay. Then there is silicosis, again from silica, asbestosis, as the name suggests. We are going to go over all of these in detail, okay. The first three are very important, the rest at least you just know the agents, okay, and the causative factors, the names and the causative factors, okay. So these are mostly mineral dusts, right, the ones that we spoke about, right. There can be organic dusts also like mold, okay, bagasosis can happen, okay. Then bird droppings, right. If you don't know, sometimes people who deal with pigeons, right, pigeon droppings can also lead to very severe lung diseases, okay. Then what else? Cotton, okay, hemp. Okay, so since pneumoconiosis is very important, you will remember no other definition but this definition. This definition is from Robbins. You are going to remember it in toto, okay. So what is pneumoconiosis? So basically, originally it was coined to describe disorders by inhalation of mineral dusts only. Okay, now this has been broadened and it includes diseases induced by organic and inorganic particles both. Okay, sometimes chemical fumes and vapors are also included in this spectrum of pneumoconiosis. The mineral dust pneumoconiosis, as we already discussed, most commonly is caused by inhalation of coal dust, silica and asbestos. Okay, they usually stem from exposure at the workplace. Therefore, they are a part of occupational lung diseases, isn't it? And in these, asbestos has an increased risk for cancer, okay, and it has an increased risk of cancer to the extended family also, family members also. Why? Cancer is not supposed to spread like a communicable disease. Why this? Because there are asbestos particles on the clothes of the primary worker, right? And when they come home, these asbestos particles present on the clothes of this person can be inhaled by the family members, and this can again lead to symptoms in the family members. Okay, so we have already seen this in the list. Still, we are going to go through this. These are the most important ones, okay? So, silicosis from silica dust. Asbestosis causative agent is, of course, asbestos dust. Coal worker pneumoconiosis from coal dust. Bicyanosis from cotton dust, people working in the cotton industry. Bagasosis from sugarcane dust. Farmer's lung from mold spores or other agricultural products, and berylliosis from beryllium. So let's go to how are these diseases caused, right? So basically these diseases are caused, or they cause symptoms only when these particles, right? These inorganic or organic particles, they are retained, okay, in your lung, right? So if they are retained in your terminal respiratory system, what happens is they invoke certain what? Inflammatory reactions, right? So important is they should be retained, only then they can cause some sort of reaction and disease, right? So when will they be retained? That depends on the particle size and particle solubility, okay? So particle size, what about the particle size? So the particles that are 1 to 5 micrometer are the most dangerous ones. Why? Because they can reach the alveoli, right? And they can settle there and cause all sorts of reaction. The particles which are larger than 10 micrometer, the particles which are the particles which are 5 to 10 micrometer, they are not going to reach your terminal respiratory system, right? They will not reach the alveoli, okay? So they are not going to cause symptoms, right? And the particles which are smaller than 0.5 micrometer, right? They are going to just get filtered through the alveolus. So again, they are not going to stay in the alveolus, thus they are not going to cause symptoms, right? So remember the size, 1 to 5 micrometer particles are the most dangerous ones. So in general, what is the trend? Small particles composed of injurious substances of high solubility are more likely to produce rapid onset acute lung injury, okay? By contrast, large particles are more likely to resist dissolution and may persist within the lung parenchyma for years. These tend to evoke fibrosing collagenous pneumoconiosis. So, tell me the factors which are going to lead to occupational lung diseases. So, we are going to discuss the clinical features first, and I am going to tell you in general a broad spectrum of clinical features that are found in these diseases, right? So, what happens in these diseases? So, first there will be deposition of all these materials, organic and inorganic materials, okay? And after that, there will be some inflammatory reaction, okay? And over a course of time, what happens is there might be fibrosis, right? So we all know if there is massive fibrosis, what happens? So if there is massive fibrosis, there is loss of lung function, right? So what happens if there is loss of lung function? There can be, and if this fibrosis is going to compress all the vasculature, there can be what? Pulmonary arterial hypertension, okay? Okay, right. And these lung diseases, pulmonary arterial hypertension in turn can lead to right heart failure, cor pulmonale, right? Okay. So, these are the things that will happen over the course of time. So, is a patient going to present? The patient can present asymptomatically. Sometimes during routine checkup for some other disease, when a chest x-ray is done, there might be findings of certain nodules, okay, or some lesion in the lung. That's how sometimes the asymptomatic patients will present, right? So patient can be asymptomatic, and then slowly they are going to end up developing all the lung symptoms, right? Like what? Shortness of breath, right? Okay, then there might be cyanosis, there might be clubbing, all the right heart failure symptoms, okay? And eventually the patient might require what? Oxygenation, oxygen support, okay? Other than that, what else can happen? Okay, sometimes, as we discussed, some of these patients can develop malignancy, right? Okay, so now going to coal-workers pneumoconiosis. So it is caused by, so it is caused in miners. We have already discussed that, right? Coal miners. And what happens is there is inhalation of coal particles, right? And sometimes they are admixed with certain inorganic minerals also, right? So what happens is these coal particles are engulfed by macrophages, right? They are engulfed by macrophages and they end up getting deposited in the lung, okay? They end up getting deposited in the lung and most of the times they are asymptomatic. Over years, they'll just cause no reaction. Usually, if it's only coal particles, they do not cause much of a reaction, right? They will form macules, okay? Sometimes these macules will coalesce and they will form nodules, okay? And eventually, after many, many years, they might develop, they might cause fibrosis, right? When are there chances of this fibrosis? More chances of coal workers pneumoconiosis patient developing fibrosis when these coal particles are rich in these inorganic mineral dusts. That is when there are more chances of fibrosis, okay? So there is a term known as progressive massive fibrosis, okay? So progressive massive fibrosis is a term that is used throughout the spectrum of occupational lung diseases when we are describing a patient who has massive severe fibrosis, okay? All that we discussed is written here, right? Most cases, carbon dust itself is the major culprit and complicated lesions contain much more dust than simple lesions. We already know that, okay? Coal workers may also develop emphysema, chronic bronchitis, independent of smoking. Okay, so when you see a gross of, when you see the lung grossly, when you see the lung of this patient, what do you see? You see dark black color lung, right? It is macroscopically also visible, okay? So again, the inhaled carbon pigment is engulfed by alveolar or interstitial macrophages which accumulate in the connective tissue adjacent to the lymphatics, okay? And in organized lymphoid tissue adjacent to the bronchi or in the lung hilus. If you cannot remember all this, just remember that they are engulfed by macrophages, alveolar macrophages and interstitial macrophages, and then they cause macules, they can cause nodules and fibrosis, okay? So usually what happens in coal workers pneumoconiosis and silicosis is that the upper lobes of the lung are mostly involved, most of the times, okay? Upper lobes of the lung are mostly involved. Remember that. Can you see how black the lung has become? Okay. This is a coal workers pneumoconiosis. Okay. So again, coming to complicated coal workers pneumoconiosis, also progressive massive fibrosis. Okay, this occurs on a background of simple disease and generally requires many years to develop. As I said, coal dust itself does not usually evoke a massive reaction. That is why it is going to be a silent disease. Even city dwellers, we are also constantly inhaling these kind of dusts, and these kind of carbon laden macrophages will also be found in our lungs. Okay, it is characterized by intensely blackened scars. Okay, this is not 1 centimeter. According to your Robbins, it is going to be 2 to 10 centimeters in greatest diameter. Okay, they can be multiple, right? Microscopically, the lesions consist of dense collagen and pigment, right? Sometimes the center of the lesion is necrotic, mostly due to what? Due to local ischemia, loss of blood supply to that part. Now coming to silicosis. So it is caused by inhalation of pro-inflammatory crystalline silicon dioxide and usually presents after decades of exposure as slowly progressing nodular fibrosing pneumoconiosis. Currently, okay, silicosis is the most prevalent occupational disease in the world. Workers at risk include individuals involved with repair, rehabilitation, okay, of concrete structures such as buildings, roads, etc. Okay, now the pathogenesis of silicosis. Phagocytosis, again, of course, phagocytosis of inhaled silica crystals by macrophages will activate the inflammasome and stimulates the release of pro-inflammatory mediators, mostly interleukin 1 and interleukin 8. Okay, what will this cause? This will cause, in turn, recruitment of additional inflammatory cells, okay, which are going to activate interstitial fibroblasts, leading to collagen deposition and fibrosis. This is important. Silica occurs in both crystalline and amorphous forms, but the more implicated one is the crystalline form, okay. They include what? Quartz, cristobalite and tridymite, okay. They are more fibrogenic, they are more important, they are more implicated. Okay, again, this is upper zone of the lungs, okay. Remember, pneumoconiosis, coal workers pneumoconiosis and silicosis, upper lobes usually, and asbestosis usually lower lobes, and eventually it goes to the upper lobes, okay. So in the early phases, they can present as tiny, barely palpable, discrete, pale to blackened nodules, okay. If there is implication of coal dust along with silicosis, then you are going to find blackened nodules, okay. They can be found in the hilar lymph nodes and upper zones of the lungs, okay, which can coalesce into hard collagenous scars. Some nodules may undergo central softening, as in coal workers pneumoconiosis, okay, and cavitation due to sometimes this, okay, this is very important. What happens is sometimes this can also work in conjunction with TB, okay. Ischemia is one reason for the central necrosis, right? But TB, why TB? Why tuberculosis? Because I already told you silicosis is more, evokes a more severe reaction, more dangerous than coal workers pneumoconiosis, right? So they will involve a lot of what? Macrophages, right? So what happens is, if the patient has a concurrent tuberculosis infection, the macrophages are already used up, they lose their capacity to counter the TB, okay, to counter the TB adequately. Therefore, sometimes they can occur in conjunction, TB and silicosis. Fibrotic lesions may occur in the hilar lymph nodes and pleura. Sometimes thin sheets of calcification occur in the lymph nodes radiographically as eggshell calcification, okay. Again, there can be progressive massive fibrosis, okay, progressive massive fibrosis. Microscopically, hallmark lesion is characterized by a central area of whorled collagen fiber with a more peripheral zone of dust-laden macrophages, okay. Examination of the nodules by polarized microscopy reveals weakly birefringent silicate particles. If you cannot remember so many things in simple terms, I think at least you can remember grossly there will be nodules. Grossly there will be nodules, especially in the upper zone of the lungs, which if present along with coal dust can appear black, okay. Sometimes what happens is, due to concurrent TB or due to ischemia present, what will happen is there might be a central area of softening, cavitation or necrosis. Okay, there can be presence of fibrosis, right? Other than that, what can happen microscopically? Microscopically, there's going to be whirling of collagen fibers, and peripherally there is going to be dust-laden macrophages, right? Polarized microscopy, birefringent silicate particles. Okay, you can see these silicate particles on a polarized microscope. And again, this term is coming, progressive massive fibrosis. It's a common term used in all these diseases. So again, gross of a silicosis lung. Can you see the upper lobe has contracted in silicosis, and since there is also present of carbon particles, this has turned blackish, right? Now what is this? Microscopically you can see this whole whirling pattern, right? And you are not able to appreciate very well, but peripherally there are macrophages present. Clinical features, much of the clinical features are common, right? So you don't have to remember them separately, okay? We know any lung disease, chronic cough, dyspnea, fatigue, loss of appetite, chest pain, okay? Sometimes in acute conditions there will be fever, right? Of course, impairment of what? Lung capacity, okay? There will be shortness of breath. We already know all this. Massive fibrosis, again, pulmonary arterial hypertension, okay? Other than that, what? Right heart failure, cor pulmonale, right? So, severe conditions, there can be clubbing, right? Very important. Asbestos is a family of pro-inflammatory crystalline hydrate silicates. Even if you can't remember so much, just remember the basics. Asbestos is pro-inflammatory, okay? And what do they cause? They are associated with pulmonary fibrosis and various forms of cancer. Very important. Silicosis can also cause malignancy, okay? But asbestosis, very important. It has a very high predilection to cause cancer, okay? So, this occurs in two distinct geometric forms, serpentine and amphibole. Okay, the serpentine form accounts for 90% of the asbestos used in the industry. Okay, whereas amphiboles are what? They are more pathogenic. Okay, in spite of being less prevalent, they are more pathogenic. Okay, especially with respect to induction of mesothelioma. What is mesothelioma? Malignancy of what? What? Mesothelial cells? Right. Where is mesothelial cell present? Okay. Yeah. So what were we talking about? Okay. So what is mesothelioma? What are mesothelial cells? Where are they present? Which cavities in the body? Which cavities in the body? You only tell me. Which cavities in the body? Mesothelial cells. Talking of which organ? Yeah, so which cavity? Lung is present where? Yes, and pleural thoracic cavity, same, okay. And where else? Abdominal cavity? Right, sit down. Very good. So, they can give rise to mesothelioma, right? Asbestos acts both as a tumor initiator and a tumor promoter, both, right? And another function, not a function, and another problem with asbestosis is if there is history of smoking along with asbestosis, what happens is these particles, these asbestos particles that are already present in the lung tissue, they can act as a surface on which these pro-carcinogenic smoke particles can get adsorbed on, right? So, long-term exposure, therefore, in conjunction, asbestosis and smoking has higher risk of producing cancers. And what else does smoking cause? Ciliary function is lost, right, during smoking. So, therefore, the clearance of these unwanted carcinogenic particles is hampered. Again, longer exposure. Okay. Again, it causes massive fibrosis. Okay. By inhalation of asbestos fibers. Again, similar kind of pathogenesis by the phagocytosed macrophages. Again, they are going to release pro-inflammatory factors and fibrogenic mediators, which is going to end up causing all the. So this is important. What happens is there will be diffuse pulmonary fibrosis, okay, and there will be presence of asbestos bodies. How are they? They are golden brown fusiform or beaded rods with a translucent center that consists of asbestos fibers coated with an iron containing proteinaceous material. I'll show you a picture. They arise when macrophages phagocytose asbestos fibers. And the iron is most of the times derived from phagocytosed ferritin. Again, it begins in the lower lobes and subpleurally, and eventually it can involve the middle and upper lobes. This is from your Robbins, it's given in Robbins. Again, similar findings: shortness of breath, dyspnea, cough, blood in the sputum, chest tightness, clubbing. Okay, what is byssinosis? The next ones that you're going to read are not very long. They are smaller. Okay. Just remember two lines of the others. What is byssinosis? Byssinosis is lung disease caused by prolonged inhalation of cotton fiber dust. Okay. This disease is also called Monday fever, brown lung fever disease, mill fever, cotton worker's lung. Again, similar clinical features you can write. Grading not very important for you. Diagnosis, you know, diagnosis for all these diseases is going to be radiography, then history, then examination under the microscopy. Of course, I forgot this. Spirometry is important in any kind of lung disease. Bagasosis caused by inhalation of sugarcane dust. This can cause hypersensitivity pneumonitis. So people who work in sugarcane fields, again, similar findings. Farmer's lung, we already discussed, caused by allergy to the mold in certain crops, right? Usually caused by breathing in dust from hay, corn, grass of animal feed, tobacco, or also some of the pesticides that are used agriculturally. Similar symptoms: berylliosis or chronic beryllium disease is a chronic allergic type of lung response in exposure to beryllium and its compounds. It is a form of beryllium poisoning. Again, diagnosis you can write from common sense. Okay, malignant mesothelioma, also caused by, it is also an occupational lung hazard. It can again be caused by which occupational lung disease? We just read which one? Yeah, right. This is going to be covered in detail. So we are just going to know that this can be a consequence of asbestosis. Okay, so we have covered the non-malignant occupational lung diseases, okay, but if they ask you about occupational lung diseases, you also have to mention the malignant counterparts which are going to be covered later on, okay.